best.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel here. It's Lavender here, and today I am doing a kind of like vintage, like 1980s true crime case. Today I want to do the true crime case, the unsolved murder of Cam Lyman. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I decided to do this case because I saw this case on Unsolved Mysteries, and honestly I don't know how it hasn't been solved. I think it's the fact that Cam is a trans man, because if this was like a straight white woman, it probably would have got solved. But I think it has to do with the fact that Cam was born a woman and then transitioned to be a man and became like a trans man. I think that's why it has not been solved. So I wanted to do a video on this because no one has been talking about this on YouTube or whatever, so I decided I want to do it because I am intrigued by this case. So yeah. So this case has been featured in a number of TV and media. Again, like I said, this case was seen and featured on the vintage 1980s and 1990s show Unsolved Mysteries. And so let's get started. And before we get started, this is who I think did it. I think it was George O'Neill who murdered him, because it's like obvious that he did it. Like literally, like, if this was a black guy who like killed like this wealthy white man, it would have been solved, honestly, but whatever. But I think it was George. Allegedly, I think it was George. He is dead now, so they can't charge him with murder. So let's get started into this story, okay? So background of the victim, Cam Lyman. So Cam was born in 1932, and Cam Lyman was originally born a woman and was known as Camelia Lowell Lyman, you know, and she later changed her gender to he, so he became Cam Lyman. So he was a wealthy heiress. His parents were old money Boston aristocrats. She shared her father's love of passion for show dogs. He was popular in the show dog world. According to his sister Mary, he was a good handler and a good breeder of Colombian Spaniels. He never dated or married. His dogs were in his life a solitary sphincter. He lived with his parents on their 100-acre estate. Her parents died in 1968, and when his mother died 5 years later, his world seemed to fall apart. His behavior became more and more bizarre over the years. Starting in the mid-1970s, he noticed that the estate was not being taken care of properly. Camelia seemed to have become an eccentric, reclusive, solitary person, and spent more time with his dogs than with people, and associating with people. He spent more time with the dogs instead. His appearance began to change as well. He bought animal steroids and began taking them for himself, and his voice deepened, and he began to develop facial hair, and he began wearing men's clothing. And after that, between 1978 and 1985, he underwent a transformation surgery to being a man legally, changing his own name to Cam Lyman. I don't think that he went through that, the whole, actual, body, physical-wise surgery, but, he did change his name and legally change it to a man's name. So around 1981, Cam started to associate with a fellow dog owner named George O'Neill. O'Neill was eventually hired by Cam, becoming the sole caretaker of his estate. He took care of paying Cam's bills and arranged rides to dog shows. O'Neill also fed and showed his dogs as well. Eventually, he became Cam's sole confidant. He associated with no one else but O'Neill. This is how I think he did it, because, if you only associate with one person, and that person goes missing and turns up murdered, then it's most likely that person. He continued to be more eccentric and solitary, carrying a briefcase with thousands of dollars in it at one time worth of jewelry. He also took thousands of dollars in cash to the grocery store. In 1984, O'Neill helped Cam sell his Massachusetts home and buy a 40-acre property in Hopkins, Rhode Island. Cam vanished sometime in 1987. His disappearance was discovered when his friends and family failed to receive his customary Christmas card that he would send to his family. His family was especially concerned because checks that had been sent to him were being endorsed with another account number or for a bank account in Rhode Island instead of his own signature. In December 1988, they contacted the police and reported him missing. They also contacted the law firm in charge of the Lyman Trust. They hired Charles Allen to investigate the disappearance of him. So Allen discovered that O'Neill had been depositing Cam's trust fund checks. He was surprised to find that O'Neill had Cam's power of attorney. He was also Cam's sole beneficiary and stood to inherit his whole estate. O'Neill was asked about Cam, who was not concerned at all by his friend's disappearance, claiming that he had done this before in the past. He also claimed that in July 1987, he and Cam had a fight and argument over the phone about the dogs. The next day, O'Neill went to Cam's house and found the phone ripped out of the wall and the dogs unattended. He never saw Cam again and never seemed to care that he was missing. O'Neill claims that he believed that Cam had gone to Europe to undergo a sex change operation, but gave no reason as to why this was, or why he neglected to inform the police or anyone about Cam's disappearance. Meanwhile, O'Neill acted in a suspicious manner during this whole entire time, refusing police to search Cam's property and telling them they can't search it, you need to leave, showing Cam's dogs as his own, and cashing checks coming in for Cam and keeping the money for himself. Much of Cam's net worth from the bank accounts to family heirlooms had disappeared at this time. This was between $3 million and $5 million. Allen did not believe that Cam would have gone to Europe for the operation of sex change because he was afraid of even going to the doctor or dentist. Mary does not believe that he would ever leave his beloved dogs behind because, as you know, this guy was a very passionate dog shower and dog owner. In December 1994, Cam's family asked the court to declare him legally dead because it was clear that he was dead, because no one goes missing like this out of nowhere if they're known not to do that. The judge did so in July 1995. She noted that she did not believe that O'Neill was credible and was suspicious of him the whole entire time, because why would you not be suspicious of someone who all of a sudden has all these assets that aren't his, and they're saying, and he keeps saying that they're his again. This is why I think he did it. I'm surprised this case really wasn't solved. It's like shocking it was not solved. In 1997, a new police chief of the case reopened the case and he began searching Cam's property. On September 24 in 1997, his remains were found in the septic tank near his home by Greg Schneider, who had bought and lived there. He located the remains after noticing a strange, foul smell from the sewer. Coincidentally, investigators were searching other parts of the property at that time. In October 1998, dental records had confirmed that the remains belonged to Cam. The medical examiner concluded that he had been murdered and shot in the head, probably around the time that he originally disappeared. His murder today remains unsolved. The suspect is obviously George O'Neill, the main primary suspect. It's clear he did it, honestly. I have no doubt that he did it. I'm just surprised it was not solved. It was literally never solved, which is ridiculous, because it's clear he did it. He never reported Cam missing, and he kept claiming that things that were Cam's were his, and they weren't. He just acted like he didn't give a fuck. And he finally refused to let investigators search Cam's property. He's like, you can't search it, you need to leave, you have to have a search warrant by. And Cam's remains were later found on that property. To this day, this case remains unsolved. I think it has to do with the fact that he is a trans man, because think about this, okay? If this was a straight white woman that was rich, right, that turned up missing and was later murdered, they would have, went ahead with this case and charged that guy with murder, honestly. And in 2003, a grand jury later indicted George O'Neill, the prime suspect in Cam's murder, for embezzling $15,000 from Cam's estate. He was sentenced to just 1 year probation and fined $450 for court costs. Recently, he reported she's dead. I don't know anything about it, but he did know everything about it. I don't know why he keeps acting like he doesn't. And then it says, unfortunately, he died in 2011 without ever being charged with his murder. So I think that this had to do with the fact that this was a trans man, because no offense, but it typically, if you look it up, like people of color murders or hate crime murders or like trans murders, like they tend to be put on the back burner. Like there was another like show I watched like last year during the pandemic where like this black trans man, he went missing and the police didn't really investigate it, but this like white woman that was straight, this white girl who was straight went missing, and they searched up and down the whole entire town, and they later found her murdered, but they didn't do the same thing or look for the trans black girl or whatever. So like, and not only that, but like hate crime murders of like natives don't really get reported in the media either and stuff. So this is a really sad case, honestly, because I feel like this truly could have been solved if they cared, but I just don't think they cared because it was like a trans woman and it was way back then. So I don't feel like, I mean a trans man. I don't think that they cared about the fact that this case, because it was like a trans man and this was like a very vintage kind of murder, because it's sad. I feel like this could have been solved, and it's sad that this case has not had any justice, and it hasn't been solved at all when it's clear and obvious who did it. So if you guys like this video, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Bye guys, see you next video.